Any application we receive between October 31st, between October 1st and January 31st is eligible for our lottery. So if you apply February 1st at 12:01, your application will be marked post-enrollment, and your application will be added to the post-lottery waiting list in the order that it was received. So any of those applications, so if you apply October 1st or you apply January 31st, you're still eligible for that lottery. So just make sure you apply within that. If you apply later than that, your application will be added to the post-lottery waiting list in the order that was received. The lottery is always the third Tuesday of February. Lottery results will be received within 24 hours of the lottery. So last year, we ran our lottery. The public accounting firm that I talked about before that validates our lottery is there. They make sure that the lottery runs smoothly and that everyone is accounted for. And then they run a validation of it. And then once they sign off on it, we release those records. So I think last year it took about an hour. So people received the results within 1 hour. And so typically the lottery is at 10 a.m. and people had the, whether they got accepted or not, by 12 that day. So once we run the lottery, there's 2 emails that go out. So it's either that you got accepted or that you got waitlisted. If you got accepted, you can move on to the registration. If you got waitlisted, you'll have to log back into Schoolmint to check the status of your waitlist number. So once you log in, it will have your child's name, a W and an L and a number. That's your child's waitlist number. If you want to check that number daily, weekly, monthly, you can do that. So you can log on as much. As soon as I let someone off the waiting list, that number changes and goes up 1. So you can always check the status of your waitlist number after the lottery by logging back onto Schoolmint. Also, just to let you know, if you apply online, if you apply with your phone, you can take a picture of your proof of birth and proof of residency. It's really easy to upload it right from there. So we'll talk about preferences in the lottery. So who comes first? So we have all these different preferences in the lottery, and we'll go through each one. So our first one is sibling of currently enrolled students. So if you have a child already enrolled and you have a child coming in, that's the first preference. So we have siblings of currently enrolled students, and that would be in district. So we are a charter school that's authorized by the Pittsburgh Public Schools. Therefore, according to state law, we have to give preference to people that live in the Pittsburgh Public Schools. All of our buildings are in the PPS district, so we have to give preference to Pittsburgh Public Schools. So we have the first preference is siblings attending in district. Then we have siblings attending out of district. So that would be anyone in surrounding districts. So that would be Woodland Hills, Penn Hills, anywhere actually you can apply that's out of district. And if you live so busing can only be provided if you live within 10 miles of our school. Then we have something called siblings applying in district. And that would also be, the first preference would be Pittsburgh Public Schools. So during the lottery, let's say you have a kindergartner and a second grader applying. Your kindergartner gets a spot in the lottery. Then it would go, because we run the lottery, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to, it will be 10th grade next year. So we have kindergarten and you have a second grader. Your kindergartner gets in, the computer goes and tags the second grader and gives them sibling applying preference. Let's say the opposite happens. Your kindergartner doesn't get in and your second grader does get a spot. Then the computer goes back and tags the kindergarten student and gives them preference on the waiting list. So they'll move up the waiting list. Let's say your kindergartner was number 50, your second grader gets in, the computer goes back, pushes your kindergartner up the waiting list to whatever, 1, unless there's another sibling applying, and then it would pick which number came first on the waiting list. So It doesn't remove someone that already got those 78 spots, but it does give them preference on the waiting list. And we've never had a time in my 4 years at ECS that we haven't moved someone off the waiting list. Then we have sibling applying out of district. Then we have a preference called children of school employees, and that would be only ECS employees. They have to work 1 year, 1 full year at ECS before they can apply for the preference in the lottery. And that goes in district, which would be PPS, and then that goes out of district. Then our main preference right here would be all those in-district students. After we do sibling of a currently enrolled student, sibling applying, employee, then we have the in-district students, and we pull from in-district students. Then we pull from out-of-district students. And then we have free and reduced lunch additional weight. So in order to increase the economic diversity of the environmental charter school, any child that qualifies for free and reduced lunch gets an additional weight in the lottery. So instead of getting 1 ticket, they get 2 tickets. So if you would get that additional weight in the lottery. So how does the lottery work? So the computer randomly assigns every application a number based on those preferences. If you do have twins, because this comes up a lot, if you do have twins, each twin gets their own number. So if one of the twins got picked, then the other one would get tagged as sibling applying preference. And then they would come right after them. So the twins do stick together in the lottery. So the computer randomly assigns every applicant a number, and then based on those numbers, they fill those seats. So for instance, kindergarten has 78 seats. So they would go through those preference. Siblings of currently enrolled students would come first, in district, then out of district. Then it would be as those preferences goes down. So, and then we do open up another class in first grade. So we have 3 kindergarten classrooms of 78 students, 3 kindergarten classrooms of 26 students for a total of 78 students in kindergarten. Then in first grade, we open up an additional classroom. So we have 4 classrooms of 26 students. So we have 104 in kindergarten through 9th grade. So that is our maximum amount of students in each grade is 104. So if you don't get in kindergarten, I would say apply in first grade. There's an additional chance to get in. And then even in 2nd and 3rd grade, there's always a chance to get in. So the computer randomly assigns numbers. So what we would do is we'd pick the first 78, and then we would start with waitlist number 1 all the way down to the end. And I wish that I could give you a statistic on the chances that your student will get in. So it changes year to year and grade to grade. So some years we have more movement in certain grades, and other years we don't. So it just all depends on the year and the grade. So I wish I could have a magic ball and let you know. Typically, we see movement in the top 10 to 20 per grade level. It just all depends on the year and the grade. But typically 20, about waitlist number 20 might have a chance. So I know my son applied for first grade. He applied for kindergarten. He didn't get in. He applied for first grade. I think he was waitlist number 15, and he didn't get in that year. I think he ended up waitlist number 3 for the whole year. So it just, it just all depends. So which seats do you have? So we have the open seats in the wait list that I kind of talked about. So we fill those seats, and then we create the wait list. And so don't give up. So the waiting list is active until the school year you are applying for is over. So for the 2021-22 school year, though, that wait list will stay active until the year is over. So let's say that your child is number 1 on the waiting list, and then in January, someone moves, we will offer you that spot. So you can accept or decline that spot, and then we move forward. So just to let you know, once the lottery happens, if you first get in, you will have about till the end of March to accept or decline the spot. And then after March happens, you have 3 business days to accept or decline that spot. So we typically do onboarding events in March, and we give the chance of all the students that got accepted a chance to come to the school and see what a day in the life of ECS is about. They're on the half days, so the parents come and the children come. Children meet their teachers and do some fun activities with the teacher, and then parents can go and find out more about the school. Last year was our first year that didn't happen. Our first onboarding event was supposed to be March 13th. And as you know, the whole state of Pennsylvania closed down on March 13th, so we weren't able to have it. But we typically like to get parents and students in to see the school. So hopefully this year we can do something to onboard. So we typically invite the first 20 on the waiting list. So if you are on the waiting list, I would advise you to come to those events, see what the school is. So when you do get an acceptance, or you do get a spot off the waiting list, that you are prepared to make the decision of if you want to come or not, because you only really have 3 business days. And you can definitely contact the principal, the assistant principal, myself, Kristen Abe's house, anyone that can help you make that decision.